and welcome to this very special show, Indian Telecom at Crossroads. This sector is going through enough headwinds, besides, of course, the regulatory scenario that continues to change and policy flip-flops that are happening. There, of course, is a massive wave of consolidation that the sector is seeing, and, of course, the entry of RelGeo that has really changed the dynamics of the sector. Consolidation in the sector has been so intense that from about 12 operators, it may down to be about 4 to 5 operators in each circle. What does it mean for investors, for banks who have such a huge exposure to the sector, and of course to customers, and of course as far as government policy making is concerned, is what we're really looking to gauge in this very special show, besides of course a whole host of other issues. But first up, let's get you the biggest voice in the sector that matters, Gopal Vittal, speaking to ET now and explaining how the Vodafone Idea merger will mean that Bharti Airtel will continue to pump in money in its network, how it has already doubled its network in the last 2 years, and how Gopal Vittal says that Bharti Airtel is a product of competition. It is here to stay, and even if Vodafone Idea merger creates the biggest behemoth in the sector, it will take the joint entity head on and look to compete in the marketplace. Listen into that big ET Now exclusive.
What happens with these events, and if you look at what's happened over the last, I would say, 12 months or so, the financial health of the industry has deteriorated. And I think with 10, 11 players sitting in the market, that's an unsustainable situation for the amount of investments that the industry needs. We have entered into an agreement with Telenor, so that's one, hopefully with the regulatory approvals, that will be one less competitor. Aircel and Arcom have entered into some kind of an agreement, and the big one, Vodafone and Idea, have also entered into an agreement or potential agreement. So I think what you will be left with in the course of the next maybe 12 to 15 months is perhaps 4 to 5 operators. I think that is a very good thing for the industry, because the extent of investments that are required to develop India's broadband infrastructure needs a lot of financial scale. And so I would say it's actually a healthy development for the industry as a whole.
But if you look at it, Vodafone Idea is going to be a formidable player in terms of size, scale, also capacity savings, OPEX savings. It will actually be a very formidable player. So from Bharti Airtel's point of view, will that mean more investments into network going forward? Will that mean more focus into getting more spectrum? Help us understand. Obviously, there has to be a game plan for Bharti Airtel as well.
I mean, we've always said that our obsession is not with our competitors but our customers, right? And I think every competitor is formidable. Every competitor must be respected. But finally, we're here to serve customers. So in my view, our job is cut out, which is to make sure that our broadband investments are well directed, our network quality is dramatically improved, our customer experience is constantly improved, and we struggle with that every day to try and improve that. And I think that's really what our obsession is. So to stay focused on the market, on our customers, and make sure that we give them the service and the experience that they deserve.
Will that mean more investments in network? Because, the market is really eyeing this merger from a twofold perspective. One, of course, is that it will lead to consolidation. But secondly, and more importantly, Bharti is the #1 player in the market right now. But it will have very stiff competition from this joint entity, which, of course, will be the largest player in the market. So will Bharti put in more money in the network? Will it also look at more M&A? Telenor is one bit, but will it mean more M&A for Bharti?
So we have already, 2 years ago, Gauri, we announced a big investment program called Project Leap, which was a $10 billion investment. We are sort of halfway through that, or maybe 60% done. In fact, if you look at the last 2 years, we have rolled out something like 160,000 base stations. Now, just to give you a measure of that investment, that is like redrawing the entire Airtel network all over again. So what we did in 20 years, we literally did in 2 years. So the network investments were already part and halfway through, or maybe 60% through that journey. So the investments in network will continue as we continue to experience broadband growth, and more importantly, as we sort of drive the broadband infrastructure across the country. Having said that, I think every competitor is respected. I mean, we have seen the extent of competition in the industry is brutal over the last 20, 25 years. We are used to it. So, we are products of competition. So, that doesn't faze us.
Okay. Fair enough. Let's move away from Vodafone Idea. Talk about Telenor. That's a deal. A lot of people say it was a very sweetheart deal for Bharti Airtel. No extra payout, getting just the spectrum liabilities that need to be paid over a period of time. How soon will that complete? And more importantly, how does that bolster Bharti's spectrum footprint?
So I think what currently we've applied for regulatory approvals. There are also a whole host of clearances and approvals that need to be sought before the merger is kind of signed. We've just signed a definitive agreement. What the acquisition gives us is spectrum in 7 circles in the 1800 band. This improves our footprint dramatically. It's not that we didn't have spectrum here, it just gives us an extra carrier of spectrum, which is very, very useful, because what happens is when you put 2 carriers of 1800 band together, you get a lot more capacity. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, but 1 + 1 is much more than 2. And so that is a huge advantage. We also get access to about 50 million customers of Telenor, which we will work to try and integrate and provide the same experience and service that Airtel customers get.
Now, let me just talk about, the tariffs and how margins and pricing in the sector are immensely under pressure. Following RelJio's plans, Bharti did come out with its own set of equally compelling plans. In your assessment, is now the future going to be free voice? Is it going to be free roaming, free voice? And is it just going to be only data where telcos in India have to make money?
I think so. We have been, we have killed domestic roaming.
Yeah.
We made a recent announcement. In fact, our chairman made an announcement on international roaming as well. We've killed domestic roaming, and so in a way, India is one now. Yeah. From on our network, and our customers can experience it wherever they go. We will continue to, look at pricing as a lever. I think pricing, unfortunately, with pricing, if it comes down, it's very difficult to get it back up. Right. So yes, it is a very, very unsustainable level of pricing that we are at right now. The good news is that we have capacities and we can continue to serve customers. Our experience is fantastic. We were very proud recently to have been declared India's fastest network by a third-party independent assessment done on the basis of speed tests across the country.
But do you think that now pricing is only going to go down? Because as you said, there's no way tariffs can come back to a more sustainable level anytime in the future, with RelJio also, using the same price lever.
I think let's wait and watch. I think if pricing comes down, I think the financial situation of most companies will deteriorate. Everybody is here to finally make a return, because it's important. Why do you want to make a return? I mean, remember, as an industry, this is an industry that makes a return of 1% or less than 1%. Now, if you put your capital into a savings bank account, you'll get more than 1%, right? So this is an unsustainable level of return. And the job to be done over the next few years is massive, because there's a massive amount of investment to be made. So I do believe that the industry needs to be financially sustainable in order to make those investments. And pricing is an important determinant of that sustainability. Having said that, we are a competitive operator. And, for us, market share is important. So we do have premiums over many players. We've seen a lot of competition with deep tariffs over the past years. We have tended to play that game as well as we could. And we'll continue to do that. But I do believe the bigger point is that the imminent consolidation in the industry is a good thing to improve the financial health of the sector.
Final questions for you. One is that from 1st of April, RelJio will start charging commercial tariffs. Obviously, it's great news for you. But does that mean that we can expect another round of price cuts from Bharti as well, to ensure that they're equally compelling to RelJio? And the second question I want to ask is that RelJio has touched 100 million. It is now looking to be a very formidable player as well in the market. In your sense, going forward, do you think that the next set of competition really is going to be on 4G, given the fact that RelJio is targeting 4G and data space primarily?
So firstly, I think we respect Reliance Industries. They're a great company. They've done a phenomenal job in terms of rolling out the infrastructure across the country. So I think that is something to be looked at with some degree of admiration. I think, like I said, I think our job is simple: to serve our customers better. And we will continue to be competitive in the marketplace. We will make sure that we're rolling out our infrastructure, our broadband investments. I don't believe that this market will all be 4G in a hurry. You do need. There are different kinds of Indias. There are different Indias today. There are people who will give you just 40 to 50 rupees ARPU. There are people who will give you 2,000 or 5,000 rupees ARPU. Our job is to serve all of them, all of these Indias simultaneously. We cover about, so just to finish off my point, we cover 500,000 villages. We cover every single town. And we do it through a combination of 2G, 3G and 4G. Over time, some of the spectrum will get refarmed towards 4G. All of it will not happen tomorrow morning, but it will happen over a period of time. And our spectrum position is strong for us to be able to refarm the spectrum in order to make sure that we are serving our customers. One of the good things in this industry is that a lot of the investment is modular. As the traffic builds, you can keep investing. And that is a situation where you can turn a base station on with a different band of spectrum and refarm it. And I think that's really what we feel is our strength.
And how will you protect your market share?
Well, you have to look at our 20-year history to see what we've done. We've been through many battles. We've had many bruises and scars on our backs. But at the end of the day, what gives us a lot of fulfillment is the fact that we serve our customers and we are, we do a good job of that. So we're not so obsessed by anything other than that.
Are you finally disappointed with the fact that no decision was taken at the TDSAT level, as far as the LGO freebies are concerned? There is, of course, the CCI case that is still pending. But for all practical purposes, we are on the 17th of March. 31st of March is when the freebies end. And the regulatory procedure has pretty much not been supporting the incumbents.
I think let's wait and see. I think it's still sub judice because, it's not the final order. So we'll wait and watch.
R.S. Sharma, TRAI chairman, speaks to ET Now exclusively and says that one of the biggest issues that has caused a lot of heartburn to incumbents, RelGeo's free offers, something that was challenged by the incumbents at various courts. Yesterday, the tribunal, of course, has asked TRAI to re-examine the entire offer, something that TRAI chairman R.S. Sharma says that he will relook at the entire matter and will, of course, be making appropriate findings to the tribunal, which has given the TRAI 2 weeks to respond. The other important bit, the big policy change that the entire industry is really waiting for is the IUC regime, the Interconnect User Charge regime that Mukesh Ambani's RelGeo has been asking to reduce. The incumbents feel it should not be brought down and should not be revised downwards, and that IUC regime in fact would come into force fairly shortly, is what TRAI chairman R.S. Sharma says. Listen in.
Well, as you know, it's very inappropriate for me to give a view or comment on a proceeding which is sub judice. This whole issue is being looked into by TDSAT, so therefore in a way it's sub judice. And whatever be the orders and observations of TDSAT, we will be taking appropriate legal action, whatever is required to be taken. So I will not be sharing my comments on this particular issue.
But sir, there is a perception that is building a ground that the fact that the tribunal asked TRAI to re-examine and relook the entire offer is something that sort of negates the entire TRAI argument in the very first place.
I don't, first of all, respond to perceptions or whatever somebody is saying. As I said, this is an issue which is sub judice, and I'll not like to make any comments on that.
And you will be making the same findings and reports that you had submitted earlier, sir?
No, it's very, you are putting words in my mouth. How can I, as I said, I'll not be responding to this issue because it's sub judice. Right. So whatever action we'll be taking, that will be taking in TRAI, and then we'll be, of course, going back to the Honorable TDSAT. Right.
So one of the biggest issues that the industry is really raised right now is the fact that spectrum pricing continues to be very high in India. And a lot of industry experts as well as top leaders believe that unless and until pricing is brought down to reasonable levels, A, the financial health of the sector will not improve, and secondly, the whole digital India vision cannot be achieved because they cannot pump in money in the network.
Well, I think this question also is not really appropriate at this stage because we have no, there is no proposal from the government or from anybody for an auction in the near future. As of now, at least I am not aware. And secondly, I think my thought is that the telecom operators as of now have sufficient amount of spectrum, which they are using. With regard to the pricing, as you say, as you know, this is spectrum is given to the operators on the basis of auction. Right. And whosoever participates, it's a competitive world, so they participate and they get it on auction.
Right. So one of the biggest issues that TRAI is looking at right now is the interconnect user regime right now. The IUC regime is looking for a complete change. The question to you, sir, I wanted to ask was that is it time to de-link IUC as well as what should be the costing that exists as far as costs for any and tariffs are concerned? Is it time to delink the entire issue from cost as well as tariff?
No, let me put it this way, that the paper on IUC is, consultation paper is out, and we have called for the views of the stakeholders. Stakeholders have also given their views. And I think the proposal which you are envisaging of delinking or otherwise, that will come out as a part of the whole consultation process. So I will not be, a priori for me, it will not be appropriate to make any conjunctures on that as to what is going to be the conclusion of that process. So that's where I'll stop.
But sir, any timeline that you can share as to when the new IUC recommendation?
Sure. We will be doing it very soon, because I think the paper was issued a few months back, and the stakeholders had asked for some time, and I think that time is, soon we will have the open house discussion, and we will come back. But let me also tell you something, that the basic rationale or the reason for issue of the consultation paper was a proposal which the BSNL had come up on the what is called the fixed mobile telephony, and that actually initiated that whole consultation process.
So my final question to you is regarding a recent DOT directive that or a letter that came from the Secretary's office saying that the promo offers did have an impact as far as government revenues are concerned, and the TRAI should in fact be implementing the tariff schemes both in spirit as well as in law. How does the TRAI respond to that?
See, there are the process of communication between the government and TRAI is a normal process. Mm-hmm. The government writes to TRAI writes to the government. So, and I have not been sharing or making comments on what the government says and what I am going to say. So we'll certainly be writing to the government appropriately and very soon.
So do you feel that the tariff orders are being implemented in letter and spirit?
That we will be responding to Telecom Commission.
Even as the TRAI looks to play referee in the ongoing slugfest between incumbents and RelGeo, the industry is looking to find answers to how adept really will policy making be given the current turbulences that the sector is really witnessing. And we've got a whole lineup of industry experts in conversation with Supriya Srinath, who of course want to find out and want to know whether or not policy making will respond to these turbulences or not. The other important bit that industry experts did opine on is whether or not 4G is really the name of the game going forward, and how voice and voice business, though of course it constitutes a large chunk of industry's revenues right now, may really be history, and it could really be data that could be the future of the business. Listen into that stellar lineup of industry experts in conversation with Supriya Srinath.
This industry has seen and is actually born out of competition. So it's like that's what has actually spurred innovation in our sector. And I think that there is, to the point that ma'am made earlier in her speech, a lot of growth yet to take place. Are there challenges? I think there are. Do they need to be addressed immediately? The answer is yes, because there needs to be a good balance for government objectives to be met, for consumers to have new services, cutting edge and affordable services, and for the industry to continue to invest more. There needs to be shareholder return. I believe there are some issues there that need to be addressed on an urgent basis. But if I look at from a mid-term to long-term horizon, a lot of things have yet to happen in this space. New geographies to be covered yet, broadband yet to be rolled out. We're still talking about 68% 3G, 4G coverage against 97 on 2G. So there's some growth yet to happen there. Enterprise cloud solutions, IoT, M2M. So there's a lot of growth yet to happen. But yes, are there some issues in the industry that need to be addressed? The answer is yes.
A lot of people thought that 3G is going to completely change the face of Indian telecom. That is still contestable. I mean, I don't know if it really has. And is 4G now the next bet, so to say? What will your take be on this?
See, I think 3G, 4G, or even tomorrow 5G, I mean, these are just technologies that are going to come and then get superseded with something else. But I think what is definitely changing is, if you, I mean, let's look at, besides what people in this room would use data for, if you start going much deeper and going into rural, which is rarely, the major part of India, and, India is not just people in this room, In fact, most of India sits outside. And that's where the real disruption is coming. If you look at, we did a lot of analysis when we were launching the payments bank. And we were absolutely gobsmacked with, there are certain perceptions that all of us had, and I'm sure everybody in the room has as well, as to, how would a payments bank and financial inclusion really impact people's lives. But it was amazing when you go down and you go to the villages and you sit down with people and you discuss. If you have to walk 2 or 3 kilometers or cycle 2-3 kilometers to get to a branch. A lot of these guys have to leave their jobs in order to go and do a transaction. And with demonetization, the impact that it has had on all of us versus the impact it has actually had on rural India. I mean, we can't even comprehend in this room.
Right.
A lot of things that we heard, we saw, we lived through them. And that's when you realize that how much we can really change the face of India. I wouldn't say in the coming decade. I would say in the next 2 to 3 years. And it's all about data revolution.
Sandeep, if I may throw this to you, and then I'm going to take this with ma'am here. The whole idea, I mean, of course, one part of data is that you're going to revolutionize and change the face of how India works, talks, operates, consumes entertainment and information. The other part is that it has to be a very potent revenue stream for telecom operators, and which is why you see the bet on data. Is this really as big as it's being made out to be? I mean, RelGeo, for instance, is talking about ARPUs of 250. The industry is perhaps grappling with 140 as we speak right now.
The question is, every now and then, and this also borders on your question on worst, adversity brings in great innovation. And some of the best, and this industry has reflected at all points of time that it has the ability to bounce back from an adversity. But let's also examine, why did the adversity happen? The adversity happened because people were navel-gazing and not grasping digital that somebody else grasped. You allowed something to happen in the marketplace. So coming back to your issue, that if you didn't, disruption can happen in two kinds. A disruptive market or disruptive technology. If you suffer from disruptive technology, it means that you've not had a vision of the future. So that means somebody else has come in. So therefore, revenue models are not working because you didn't prepare for it.
Yeah.
But one last thing, I know that I'm hogging all the time. The last thing is that there is a responsibility overall, the government, the regulator, as well as the industry, to understand that this is one single industry which has invested enormous sums of money to bring India to where it is today. Investment put in by the people. The role of the regulator is not only to allow free market, and not only to allow everybody to compete for the consumer's benefit, but to also see how can an existing operator thrive. And as Gopal said, ultimately, it's all about consumer benefit.
But what sort of a role do you see the government play, particularly for a sector like telecom? It's over-leveraged. I mean, debt levels in telecom are of 450,000 crore rupees. The return on capital, like Gopal Vittal, the largest mobile operator in India, says is less than 1%. You might as well put money in FDs and get higher returns and even do away with the risk. What sort of a constructive role or a proactive role can the government play to take care of some of these things? Because I believe that digital India or digital payments and all of that will be followed with the kind of role that the government and the industry will play hand in hand.
If you see what government has done over the last 2 years, you can already recognize the kind of proactive efforts that government has put in to have telecom infrastructure grow in the country. The rights of way, which was, they've recently declared a rights of way policy, making it much easier and affordable for telecom companies to invest in infrastructure, freeing up of spectrum, the opportunities for virtual network operators, opportunities for spectrum trading and sharing. I think what we are seeing is that the policy environment has striven to enable and encourage telecom companies to keep investing and growing.
We are talking about this big tectonic shift in Indian telecom. We've been reduced from 14 to maybe 5, 6, in fact 4 players. What has it done to the industry? What has it done to infra players? What has it done to vendors? What has it done to telecom manufacturers like yourself? Because it's not as if the market has shrunk. The market continues to be big. So, I'm really asking you the impact it has had on industry outside of just pure play telecom operators.
I think it's a very welcoming thing for the people of India and also for the people who are playing in this industry. Because as you were talking about, the value which is there in this industry, I would like to give you a simile. I heard when I was young that in the beginning, in the school times, the guys give drugs to people free of cost. And after some time, when the guys are completely, stuck on the drugs, and then they charge money. I think what Reliance has done, they have just make people taste the, data. And I sincerely believe that the data revenues are going to go multiple times up in 3 to 4 years to come. So right now, in the meantime, the companies need to sort of stick here and exist and survive. And I think the data revenues are going to go leaps and bounds from here.
2017 may well be the year of Indian telecom, from a wave of consolidation that could see some of the smaller players either winding up or of course merging to form large entities. There could of course be fresh pressure on prices and margins as all players look to press the price lever. Of course, customers will be the biggest winners in this battle, but what really happens to investors and banks and of course also to smaller players and telecom companies' ability to compete in this marketplace really remains to be seen. But one thing is for certain, banks have a lot at stake as far as this sector is concerned. Remember, bank debt to telecom companies right now in the sector as a whole is upwards of about 4.5 lakh crore rupees. 2017 could also mean fresh moves as far as 4G data is concerned. Telecom companies, of course, are going to focus that much heavily as far as data is concerned. The big question that everybody wants to find an answer to is whether voice will be free for all telecom companies or not. RelJio has started that trend. Really remains to be seen whether incumbents will follow that or not. That, of course, could really be one of the biggest things as far as Indian telecom is concerned. With that, we wrap things up on this very special show, Indian Telecom at Crossroads. Many thanks for watching.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.